Hello guys, and welcome back to Pilates Fit Friday, where we discuss Pilates content and fitness each week. And for today, we're gonna go over something that's commonly discussed in Pilates, but a little bit more taboo to discuss in public, and that being the pelvic floor. Now you might associate the pelvic floor with women's health, and in a lot of ways, it is very important when it comes down to childbirth, as well as prolapse. You might have heard of prolapse, where there's essentially not enough strength in the pelvic floor to hold in the contents of or the internal organs. But it's not just limited to women. General incontinence can be linked or associated to a pelvic floor dysfunction, meaning that the ability to control what comes out when is a lot more difficult. Now, this is true in a lot of situations. However, discuss with a professional or your primary care provider if you believe that this is something you might be dealing with. Now, the pelvic floor also works in conjunction with the diaphragm in order to create the top and the bottom cylinder of the core. Our transverse abdominis being the deepest abdominal muscle that connects from our spine horizontally to our linea alba, and that is that six-pack line. All right, so here are my few props that we're gonna work with here. This is our little scoliosis man spine guy, okay? So if I were an x-ray, this is how it would look. And then here's our little pelvic floor model, okay? So here's our pelvic floor. I'm gonna put that aside just for a second. Here, obviously it's a female anatomy. And along with the pelvic floor, we talked about the diaphragm. Now, the diaphragm sits at the base, or at least the 12th rib, and then it has a bit of a dome shape to it, and it's technically the top of that cylinder that we're talking about. Now, when you take a deep breath in, your ribs expand, the diaphragm parachutes open, the volume of the lungs increase, as well as the abdominal pressure. The pelvic floor relaxes. So you're inhaling, the breath is going down in, expanding the belly, the pelvic floor is relaxing. Now, as you exhale, that pelvic floor has to contract. That dome, or that diaphragm that was opening up like a parachute, or that opened up like a dome, is going to suck back up, and you are going to expel the air. The abdominal pressure decreases, the volume of the lungs also decrease, and the pelvic floor is contracted, the diaphragm is relaxed. Okay, so you inhale, everything expands, exhale, everything comes back up. Now, this is a very challenging thing to feel, so I always say start in the bathroom. That is the best way to understand how it feels to contract the pelvic floor. So how can we work on this at home? The diaphragmatic breathing is a great way to help control that inner unit. So one way we can work on that is by putting our fingertips, kind of interweaving our fingertips together here, taking a deep breath through the belly without lifting the chest. Pelvic floor is relaxed. As I exhale, I'm imagining that my pelvic floor rising, that diaphragm, and then my transverse abdominis, or my belly button, sandwiching to my spine. Now, this one's a little bit different. So you're essentially expanding the ribs, breathing into the sides of the ribs and the back without expanding the abdomen. So you're channeling the breath laterally. Now, another breathing exercise that involves pelvic floor contraction would be lateral lung breathing. So we're leaning to one side, hands still on the lower part of the ribs, and we're breathing into that side of the ribs and those lobes of the lungs. Now, the adductors are also very helpful in terms of engaging that pelvic floor. It also helps expiring from the bottom up. Now, one way we can do that at home is using something squishy like a ball. And this is in just one sense. There's many other ways you can work on the pelvic floor here. But here's another way that you can practice that engagement. Now, you'll squeeze the ball between the knees. It's a simple exercise. Ugh. Ball between the knees, feet are in line with the knees. Pelvic floor is relaxed, diaphragm is contracted, and we're increasing the volume of the lungs, increasing the pressure of the abdomen, filling with air. Now, as we exhale, I'm going to squeeze that ball. Think about lifting the pelvic floor. That diaphragm is relaxing, and the air is coming out. Inhale, relax. Exhale. Squeeze and hold. Inhale and exhale. Contract the pelvic floor, lifting the pelvic floor up, belly button to spine, diaphragm is relaxed. After you try this in the bathroom, after you've done some form of diaphragmatic breathing, trying to work on that pelvic floor contraction with the breath, then adding in a ball, those are good places to start in terms of strengthening the pelvic floor. Now again, discuss with a professional or your primary care provider if you think you might have any issues with your pelvic floor. Pilates is a great benefit, a great help to pelvic floor strengthening. So that being said, if you have any further questions or would like to know more, definitely send me a message, leave a comment below. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see for our Pilates videos, if you have any questions on Pilates in general, we'd love to hear it. Drop a like and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.